You haven't changed your spending habits. You didn't get a pay cut. You've cancelled Netflix. You're buying the cheap beans. And you're working exactly the same hours you were 3 years ago. Yet somehow, you are skint. You are fundamentally poorer today than you were 36 months ago. And you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing wrong? The answer is nothing. You are playing the game perfectly. The problem is, while you've been busy playing the micro game, cutting coupons, skipping the pub, trying to save 50 quid a month, the people at the top have been changing the rules of the macro game. Today we are talking about macroeconomics. Don't click off. I know that word sounds like a boring university lecture that costs 9 grand a year, but I promise you, I'm not going to draw complicated graphs or talk about fiscal policy baskets. I'm going to show you the invisible machine that is actively reaching into your bank account and draining it while you sleep. We are going to talk about why your Freddo costs 30 pence, why your mortgage just doubled, and why the news keeps saying the economy is growing while your wallet is begging for mercy. Once you see how the machine works, you stop being its victim. Let's get it sorted. Let's start with the biggest lie you've been told about money. You turn on the news and they say, inflation is up, prices are rising, everything is getting more expensive. That is backwards. The prices of things haven't magically changed. The value of your money has gone down. To understand the macroeconomy, you have to look at money like a pint of squash, this concentrated orange stuff at the bottom. This represents the actual wealth of the UK. The goods, the services, the houses, the cars, the hours you work. It's the real stuff of value. And the water? That's the money supply. That's all the pounds, tenors and digital numbers sitting in bank accounts across the country. Right now the mix is perfect. If you have 10 quid, you can buy a decent lunch. Everything is balanced. But then, a crisis hits. Maybe the banks gamble all our money and lose it. Maybe there's a pandemic. Maybe the government just wants to spend billions they don't actually have. So what do? They can't magically create more actual wealth. They can't just print houses or cars or hours in the day. So the Bank of England does the only thing it can do. It creates money out of thin air. They call it quantitative easing, which is a fancy, confusing term they use because if they called it printing money and diluting your wealth, we'd all riot. They flood the system with new money. Now look at our economy. Do we have more orange squash? Do we have more actual wealth? No, we just have way more water. The juice has been diluted. This is what inflation actually is. When the central bank pumps 400 billion quid into the system over a decade, your £1,000 savings account doesn't magically disappear. The number on your screen stays exactly the same. But because there are millions of new pounds floating around in the economy chasing the exact same amount of goods, your grand has been watered down. It buys less. If there are 100 apples in the country and £100 in the whole economy, an apple costs £1. If the Bank of England prints another £100 overnight, but we still only have 100 apples, the apple now costs £2. The supermarket didn't just get greedy, the money in your pocket just got weaker. Inflation isn't a force of nature. It is a hidden tax on people who hold cash. It's the invisible machine reaching into your savings account and stealing your purchasing power while you sleep. And the worst part? Once inflation gets out of control, the people running the machine have to pull the emergency brake. And mate, that brake hurts us, not them. So the government and the central bank flooded the economy with money. For a little while, everyone feels brilliant. Credit is cheap. You can get a brand new Audi on PCP for 200 quid a month. Mortgages are basically free at 1.5%. Everyone is spending, buying and upgrading. But remember the watered down squash? All that new money chasing the same amount of cars, houses and building materials means prices absolutely explode. Suddenly inflation hits 10%. Your grocery bill doubles. Your energy bill triples. The economy is running way too hot. This is where the Bank of England steps in. They have one main job: keep inflation around 2%. When it hits 10%, they panic, and they only have one real weapon to fix it: interest rates. Think of the Bank of England like a strict pub landlord. When inflation is low, the landlord wants you in the pub. The music is loud, the lights are low, and pints are £2. They want you to borrow and spend. But when the pub gets too rowdy, when inflation is out of control, the landlord has to kill the party. To kill the party, the Bank of England raises interest rates. What does that actually mean for you? It means the landlord just turned the music off, flicked on the bright lights, and announced that pints are now £15. By raising the base rate, they make borrowing money incredibly expensive. Suddenly that Audi isn't £200 a month, it's £500. The cost of business loans skyrockets, so companies stop hiring and start doing layoffs. And here is the most brutal part. If you're a normal working person, you feel this directly in your housing. When your fixed-rate mortgage ends, you aren't renewing at 1.5% anymore. You are renewing at 5 or 6%. Your monthly payment goes from $800 to $1,400 overnight. And if you rent, your private landlord's mortgage just went up, so what do? They pass that massive cost straight down to you. Your rent goes up by £300 a month. The Bank of England raised interest rates because they actively needed to destroy demand. I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat here. That is literally how macroeconomics works. They need you to have less disposable income. They need you to stop buying sofas, stop going on holiday, and stop spending money, so that demand drops and prices stop rising. You are the collateral damage of them trying to fix the mess they created with the money printer. That is the invisible machine at work. Right, let's talk about the news. Every quarter, some bloke in a suit gets on the telly and announces, with a massive smile on his face, that the UK economy grew by 1.2% this year. We avoided a recession. Gross domestic product is up. And you're sitting on your sofa, eating generic brand baked beans, thinking, brilliant, where's my share? Because my gas bill just went up 30%. That bloke on the telly is talking about GDP, gross domestic product. It sounds complicated, but it's just a giant calculator that adds up the total value of everything produced and sold in the country over a year. Every haircut, every car manufactured, every pint poured, every house built. If the total number is bigger than last year, they say the economy is growing. And politicians love a growing economy. They parade it around like they've just won the World Cup. But here is the massive, glaring problem with GDP that they never mention on the news. GDP measures the size of the pie. It does not measure who gets to eat it. When the Bank of England pumped all that cheap money into the system, it pushed up the prices of assets, houses, stocks, corporate profits. The wealthy, the people who already own all the assets, saw their net worth explode. They took the massive new slice of the pie. And the working class? The people trading their time for an hourly wage? You're left fighting over the exact same crumbs you were fighting over 10 years ago. Except now, those crumbs cost twice as much to buy. Look at the data. If you look at a chart comparing the country's GDP growth over the last couple of decades against the average worker's real wages, they completely detach. The country gets richer, but the workers' spending power stays exactly the same. A growing economy does not automatically mean a growing personal economy. It just means more money is moving around. And usually it's moving straight from the bottom, straight into the pockets of massive corporations at the top. This is why you have to stop caring about the national economy and start brutally defending your personal economy. You cannot wait for the politicians to fix it, because the machine is working exactly as they designed it to. If you don't own assets, you are just fuel for the machine. So the money is watered down, the strict landlord is jacking up your rent, and the economic pie is being eaten by billionaires. It sounds absolutely miserable. But here is the good news. Knowing how this invisible machine works is your superpower. Because once you can see the matrix, you can stop being a victim of it, and you can start playing their game. Rule number 1 of the macro game. You cannot outsave the money printer. If you are keeping all of your life savings in a high street bank current account paying 0.1% interest, you are holding a melting ice cube. Every single day, inflation is shaving a tiny layer off your wealth. Yes, you need an emergency fund. You need that £1,000 cash buffer we always talk about to stop you going into debt when the car breaks down. But beyond that, cash is not a wealth-building tool. Cash is fuel, and if you just sit on it, it evaporates. Rule number 2. To beat the machine, you have to own pieces of the machine. Why do the rich get richer when inflation hits? Because they don't hold cash. They hold assets. They hold property, businesses, and stocks. When the Bank of England prints billions and the price of everything goes up, the price of their assets goes up with it. And you don't need £1 million to do this. You just need a stocks and shares ISA. When you buy into a global index fund like the S&P 500 or a global all-cap, you aren't gambling on one company. You are buying a tiny, microscopic slice of the biggest companies in the world. When those companies raise the price of their baked beans or their iPhones or their software because of inflation, you get a cut of that profit. You switch from being the consumer getting squeezed to the owner getting paid. Rule number 3. Starve the strict pub landlord. When interest rates are high, bad debt is a financial death sentence. If you have a credit card charging you 25% interest or a car on PCP that's costing you $400 a month, the system is actively working against you. The Bank of England wants to squeeze you. Don't let them. Attack your high-interest debt like your life depends on it, because in this macro environment, it literally does. Look, mate, you can't vote away inflation. You can't call up the Bank of England and ask them to lower your mortgage. The macro economy is going to do whatever it wants. But your personal economy? Your four walls? You have 100% control over that. Build your emergency buffer. Clear the toxic debt. Stop hoarding cash under the mattress and start buying assets that protect your future. Stop playing the micro game of just trying to survive the month and start playing the macro game of building actual wealth. Right. Hopefully that made sense. If you want more honest money tips without the waffle, do me a massive favor. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's get your money sorted. See you in the next one. Cheers.